Hello, everyone, and I just delighted today to bring to you Teena Raffa-Mulligan and also Amy Calutti, who's backstage at the moment, but will be joining us soon. And we're here to talk about this beautiful book that's right behind me. Where is it? Where's my finger? There it is. Looking After Grandma. Welcome, Teena.
Hi, Karen.
Isn't
This
it?
is pretty exciting.
It is exciting, isn't it? I believe is this second or third book with us, isn't it? Children's book.
Good question.
Yeah, I think
Yes,
we had
it's the
friends before.
it's the third one.
Yes, it is. See, isn't it amazing? We just keep pumping books out that we lose count. But this is a beautiful collaboration between you and Amy. And we talked about this book a few years ago, and it was always on my to publish list because it's such an endearing story. But can you share with everybody about the backstory to the story?
Okay, well, the backstory is pretty sad, really, because when my mum was 67, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, and
Mm-hmm.
she had a very rapid decline and spent the last 4 years of her life in a nursing home, completely debilitated and unable to speak, didn't know anyone, couldn't look after herself. It was a nightmare, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow my creativity was inspired by that awful experience that we had. And the idea for a children's story popped into my mind. And it wasn't going to be dark and heavy, and it wasn't going to be our story with Mum. It was going to be a story about another little girl whose grandmother was in earlier stages of Alzheimer's and how they could still continue to have a really special relationship, even though grandma was changing. So I took the perspective that while when grandma was fine, she was the one who did the looking after, but as she was declining, her granddaughter was taking more of a caring role and learning to understand that even though people can change as they grow older, you can still have lots of wonderful experiences with them.
Yeah,
So that was
and then
basically
it does. It shines through, and it's such a soft, gentle story. But the story's wonderful, and to sit down with your child, and Amy has done a beautiful job on the illustrations. They're so soft and they're perfect for the story. But the conversation around that you can have with your children about that's in this book is very important, isn't it? So the book is so much more than the story, isn't it?
well, I guess most of the time when I write this type of story, I always look at it as a conversation starter.
Yeah.
So it can open up discussions between children and their caregivers
Mhm.
about aspects of everyday life. And life throws up challenges all the time. You don't know what to expect, and you can't protect your children from them, even though you would want to. I don't know how many times I wished I had a magic wand so I could make life easy and beautiful and happy all the time for my children, but it's not realistic. So we need to open up conversations so that they're prepared for some of the tougher things that happen in life, but we always have to offer them hope.
Absolutely. And it is that hope and the understanding because when there's knowledge or when things are shared and there's a conversation around something, it kind of dissipates the fear around it, doesn't it? And,
I
of
think
the
so.
unknown.
Yes, yes.
Yes. And so whenever because we were talking about this book the other day, and you were sharing that whenever your mother was going through Alzheimer's, that your children were much older, they were in their teens, but that people are having children later in life now, so that there are going to be children who are younger who are experiencing this with their grandparents, isn't it?
That's right. And as you just said, my children were late teens, early 20s by the time mum got Alzheimer's. So they could certainly understand what was going on.
Yeah.
But I was starting to see a lot of blended families where people would have a second family later in life. A lot of women are making the choice to become parents later. So that means that there are going to be lots of quite young children experiencing changes in a loved grandparent.
Yeah. Yeah, and what softer way than to have that conversation than through story, which is that connection between a caregiver and a child, and where you can deliver that kind of news in a soft way. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Well, that was always the intention, that it was going to have hope, that it was going to have lightness. And the beautiful thing about Amy's illustrations is that she picked up on that. You know,
Yeah,
we didn't give her any direction. We just said, here's a story, see what you can do with it. And
yeah,
she instantly picked up on what I hoped for in those
she did, didn't she?
illustrations. There's a lovely lightness, there's a lot of celebration in it as
Hmm.
the grandmother and the granddaughter have these shared experiences. And not only that, I didn't know that Amy was going to instinctively pick up on some of my favourite colours.
Yes,
So there's
it's
these
just so
beautiful
beautiful. Yeah.
lavenders and aquas and lovely soft lemons throughout the book.
Mhm.
And that was just a bit of, I think, artistic intuition coming into play there.
Yeah, yeah, she's very talented. Let's bring her in. Let's bring Amy Calutti in, who's the illustrator of Looking After Grandma. Welcome, Amy.
Hello.
Well, you did an awesome job in this book. We have fallen in love with it, and it's beautiful to see the words come to life. But these two work so well together. And how did it feel for you, Amy, for us just to pass over the words and give you creative freedom?
As soon as Tina wants me to do a book, I always say yes. um,
Yay!
she's just a wonderful mentor and friend, I think. And she writes these stories that sort of sneak up on you. And I've had a couple friends go, "Oh, Amy, your illustrations are so light, but at the end I'm crying." But it's a lovely book. um, and it was, yeah, after you get to know Tina, I guess, with the color interpretation, and she likes colors I like pastel colors as well, and I think it fit really well with the theme of the story. And yeah, I I don't know, always trying to come out with new and creative illustrations. So I don't know, it just comes to me. I can't explain
Yeah.
it.
It's as if you just channel into the story and you just know what the story needs, because your illustrations are so on point for each story that you do. You're really talented at it, and whether it's an intuitive talent that you just have like a gift, or you obviously you grow so much as an illustrator, I suppose, with every single book.
Yeah,
But it's just beautiful. Like that cover, I just adore that cover image. I was like, when I seen that image, I was like, that is the cover,
yeah.
and it's just so beautiful and just
I
capture
wanted
that
the
moment.
Oh, sorry. Sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt. I wanted to do the jacaranda tree because I think it's really pretty. It's a purple tree, but also I think it's really beautiful how the flowers are dropping, and it's also an interpretation of, when something beautiful still falls down on the ground and there's still all these pretty flowers everywhere, but the tree's not the same. So that
yes.
was my interpretation.
Oh,
That's a lovely
see,
way of looking at it, Amy.
Thanks.
hidden depths in the illustrations. That's the thing about an illustrator that I love. There's always hidden depths, and to capture the moment between granddaughter and grandmother right there in that seat, like it captures it there, doesn't it?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Now, Amy, I think you mentioned to me, or maybe your mum did, that
Oh,
you actually used her as the grandmother model.
that would have been my mum. Yes. I'd My mum loves the fact that I used her as a model because mum's kind of just one of those cheerful looking older ladies, I think, that everyone has in their lives, you know. So
Yes.
yeah, I thought you're perfect. We'll use you.
Oh, isn't that the best? I just love it. That your mother loved being the inspiration behind your main character.
Although she is a bit younger than she doesn't have Alzheimer's either, but yeah,
Yeah.
I thought, you know, yeah, it is her.
Oh, beautiful. Can we give everyone a little sneak peek into this book? I'm just going to share my screen. Let's see how we go with this because it's always a bit of trial and error, you know. Here we go. Can everyone see that? Yeah, think so.
Yep.
Oh,
That's the
yes.
front cover, and this is the flip book. So see the fun and joy in these illustrations. I just love it. And look, you know, the love, the joy, that it's just so careful. We're not going to show them all, but I just wanted to share how you really just is there one you want me to stop on to talk about, Amy or Tina?
Um, I think everyone loves that blue one with the water, but and that one there, but
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah,
this one's beautiful, isn't it?
it
um,
is.
yeah, I didn't want to draw a kitchen scene as well. I don't know. I was like flowers around a window. That speaks to me.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
sorry. That not didn't want to, but I just thought, oh, how can I
yeah,
make
yeah,
this different?
How
yeah.
could you do something different? That was the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah. And that's grandma getting lost, isn't it? And these kind of things that happen. I love these. The trees are just so beautiful. I didn't go to the end, but you get a drift of how beautiful this book is, everyone. It really is a real treasure. And that's one of the things Patricia Lovell says it looks beautiful. It is beautiful. And it's one of those things that because we launched this on Sunday because it was Australian National Grandparents' Day. And it's wonderful to that grandparents are being recognised because quite often some grandparents are sometimes the main carers for children as well in these days as well, aren't they?
yes. A lot. I know there's a few kids at my school. Their grandparents are picking them up every day, so it's an important part of children's lives, I guess. You know.
Yeah. And then
I
Grace
think
Grandpa.
also there's that sharing stories with grandparents. When I was a kid growing up, I loved nothing better than hearing the stories that my grandparents told me. And I'm convinced that growing up surrounded by those natural storytellers who didn't read me books but told me actual stories about their own lives, I'm sure they were a really strong influence on the sort of writer I became
Yeah.
and inspiring me to want to share my own stories. So you can't underestimate the importance of children spending time with older members of the family.
No, no, it is. It's really it's how you learn. You learn through the story and the generations, don't you? You pass things down through that as well. And that's how we learn. I know being Irish myself, that's how you learn things. That's how you're comforted when things go wrong is because people share stories. And also get inspired and, go have goals to work towards because people will share the story of their success or their how they achieve something in their lives. And that's why story is so important. Whether it's through a children's book or a novel or a non-fiction book, it's all communication. It's all keeping the conversation going, and that's why books like Looking After Grandma are so important because they keep the conversation going. They are allowed children to ask the questions. It prepares them not only for themselves, maybe in life, maybe for people, their peers, or somebody who's going through it, and it gives them a deeper understanding.
Yeah.
Well, we always hope that people who read our stories will get something from them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So if anybody's watching our live stream, you've got a question, please post it underneath the live stream. But I hope that you have really enjoyed getting to know Teena and Amy. They are a magical duo to bring the looking after grandma together. And we hope that it's spread far and wide. We've had a lot of interest from our bookstore distributor to get this book out onto bookstores. So that is so wonderful that this story is getting that kind of traction.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
ladies, for joining me. If anybody has any questions for these guys, you can message us or message them. Teena, we can find you at teenaraffa-mulligan.com, yes?
Yes, yes.
And Amy, you are, is it
Um,
Amy Calutti?
yeah, Amy Gorgeousness on Instagram or Amy Illustrates on Facebook.
Awesome. Fabulous. Thank you to everyone for watching, and thank you to you both for joining me.
Thanks for having
Thanks,
us.
Sharon.
Guys, you
Bye
can get
all.
your copy at serenitypress.org.